All right, cooperators in the room and online, special invited guests, members of the Department of Cooperatives and Friendly Societies, our external auditors, our stenographer, good evening. I'm honored this afternoon to welcome everyone to our 67th Annual General Meeting of the JPS and Partners Credit Union. I now invite everyone to stand as we begin with the national anthem. I now invite Mr. Paulston Francis to come and say prayers for us.
Let us pray. Father, we thank you for the bread of life. Lord, we thank you because you are awesome. You're the great God. You're the Father of creation. Father, this afternoon, we stop by to say your thanks for journey and mercy. As we are here this afternoon for our AGM, Lord, I pray that you may tabernacle with us. Lord, whatever is going to be said and done, let it be done with some order and some decency. Father, we pray that, Lord God, that whatever we do and say, Lord, you'll get the honor and you will get the glory. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Could you turn to the back of your AGM booklet as we recite together the prayer of St. Francis of the Assisi? Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. And where there is sadness, joy. O divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive, it is in pardoning that we are pardoned, and it is in dying that we are born to eternal life. Thank you. You may be seated, please. Mr. Assistant Secretary, can you confirm if we now have a quorum? And if so, you can read into the minutes the notice of the 67th Annual General Meeting notice. Okay.
Mr. President, we do have a quorum, 124, both online and in-house. We'll now read the notice of meeting. Notice is hereby given at the 67th Annual General Meeting, AGM, of the JPS and Partners Cooperative Credit Union will be held on Thursday, October 27th at 1 p.m. in a hybrid format. That's to be 2 p.m., yes. At the physical location of the Courtly Corporate Center Auditorium, 8 St. Lucia Avenue, Kingston, and via live stream on Zoom. Thank you.
Thank you, Assistant Secretary. Can I now ask for a motion to adopt the agenda? Okay, thank you. Can I have someone seconding? Thank you, Mr. Mitchell. Can I also have a motion to fix the maximum liability and the surplus appropriation immediately after the treasurer has presented her report? Thank you, Mr. Monroe. Yeah. Yes, Mr. Brown. Oh. Thank you, Mr. Brown. By my watch, it is 2:25 p.m. and I formally call this meeting to order. Mr. Brown, your first name? Edson. All right, so we go back to the motion to fix the maximum liability and the surplus appropriation. Mr. Monroe, Earl Monroe had moved, and I needed a seconder. Okay, thank you, Daffodil Bruce Miller. Mr. Assistant Secretary, are there any apologies for absence?
Yes, Mr. President, Patrick Davidson, online. Oh, he's a board member, but he's not on the physical location.
Director Fleming is also going to be late.
Trisha and David Fleming. Trisha Robbins and David Fleming. But they'll be late. Okay.
You got that? Okay. All right, so we are now going to recognize persons who are celebrating birthday in the month of October. Those in the room and online, can you indicate? Mr. Monroe, GM. Oh, Mrs. Umrah. All right, could we? Oh, happy birthday to you. So we're gonna stand and sing happy birthday to our member, all right? All members who are celebrating during this month. I've come start singing.
Okay.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Listen, persons who pass. Happy birthday.
Right? To work in the choir here, guys.
All right, I continue to invite you to stand as we are also going to be observing a moment of silence for those members who left us after our last AGM. Thank you. Those who have transitioned since our last AGM, E. Saman, Stanley Sellers, Aldith Longmore, Carlene King, Goldwing Millington, Ricardo Brown, Eric Roberts, Hurley Roberts, Crichton Knight, Abraham Robinson, Vivian Hunter, Dennis Palmer, Delroy Duncanson, Nathan White, Roy Simpson, Edward Finley, Kingsley Jarrett, Carol Blair, Brian Wellington, Donovan Wellington, Sanford Baxter, Patrick Henry, Barrington Flowers, Maurice Gale, Isaac Francis, Peter Rule, Tanis Thomas, Thaddeus McFarlane, Reginald Smith, Deniston Williams, Lawrence Henriquez, John Nelson, Brian Andrews, Reginald Johnson, and Dwight Blackwood. You may all be seated. At this time, the honor is mine again to introduce to you the members of the Board of Directors. And I begin with, to my far left, we have Director Kim Robinson, Director Timaine Campbell, Director Natalie Sparks, Director Clive Sigree. I'm Donovan Cunningham. The other directors are not here in the room present, but we have online Director Trisha Robinson and Director Patrick Davidson. And soon to join us will be Director David Fleming, as he has another engagement from which he will come to us. I also want to take the opportunity to identify the members of the management team, starting with the General Manager, Ms. Jardine Jarrett. Online, we have the Acting Credit Manager, Mr. Carl Grant. Our Treasury and Finance Manager, Mr. David Harris. Our Operations Manager, Mr. David Goodlett. Oh, he's online? Okay. Our Yuatan Branch Manager, Mrs. Marjorie Richards Johnson. Our Risk and Compliance Manager is Mrs. Sandra Robinson Brown. Branch Manager for Kirkvine, Mrs. Marie Young McNamee. Our IT Manager is Mr. Kamai Clark, and our HR Manager Ms. Judith Umrah. At this time, I'm going to be inviting Director Kim Robinson to come and to formally welcome our guests on behalf of the Board of Directors and Management of the JPS and Partners.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is with great pleasure that I extend a warm welcome on behalf of the directorship and the members of management team and extended staff of the JPS and Partners Cooperative Credit Union to you today. Thank you so much for taking your time to come out, to join us online, and for those of us who were able to journey from Yuaton, Kirkbine, and other areas across the island to being here in person. We would also like to extend a special welcome to our special invited guests, Ms. Melanie Campbell of the League, Ms. Margaret Morris, wife of founding member, Mr. Albert Morris, Mr. Dennis Richards, representative of Richards and Richards, our attorneys at law, Madam Gerling Gray, former board director, Ms. Jennifer Hibbert, BDO representative, who is our external auditor here today, Mr. Earl Monroe, a former director, Mr. Derek Tolo, former director, Mr. Edson Brown, representative from the Department of Cooperative, Ms. Nadia Byfield, representative of the Cooperative, and Mr. Winston Fletcher, director of the League. Thank you all.
At this time, I'm going to now be inviting our assistant treasurer, secretary actually, to come and to take us through the minutes. So you can use this.
Good afternoon again, fellow cooperators. We will turn to page 7 for the minutes for our last meeting that was held on November 25th, 2021. Start on page 5. A motion is now in place to take the minute as been read. Moved by Siebert Mitchell. Second. Pardon me? Second by John Grant. All right. We'll now take the corrections if there are any. Starting from page 5. And a correction on page 5. Page 6. Page 6. Okay. Your mic is.
Okay.
Okay,
I
yes,
guess it's
or no?
on. On page 6,
Mhm.
suspension of standing orders and possible throughout the minutes on a whole when I read it. It's the practice that motions are moved and seconded. That does not make them pass. So suspension of standing orders where you have on the last sentence, the motion was moved by Mr. Derek Tuller and seconded by Mrs. Margaret Morris. And that's it. It did not say what the count was, because for an amendment to the rules, definitely you'd have a count. It's not stated in the minutes. And it's the practice throughout the minutes that motions are passed just by move and second. And that's not legal. You have to have the general membership agreeing to the motion.
Thank you.
Okay.
So there would be a correction.
So all in favor?
No, it's by
What?
correction.
Okay, Mr. Francis. Uh-huh.
That is a point member just made that what could be done as a motion
Mm.
for chair to that's all in favor.
That's right,
Okay.
that's right, that's right, that's right, yeah.
Yes, but for an amendment to a rule, it's a count that is required by the law. So you would have to say the numbers of members voted for and the number of members against and any abstention.
Okay, point taken, point there, that's, yes, it's correct, yeah. Thank you. Page 7. Page 8. Page 9. Page 10. Page 11. And page 12. Page 10. Page 12, okay. So Tolo, go ahead.
What happened is that at the last meeting, in terms of I'm talking about paragraph, page 12, the paragraph, last paragraph on the page. Look at the last paragraph on the page. And what we did that, I read that meeting, a vote for Tuesday, that in terms of branch,
Sir Tolo, 1 second, please. Can you go to the mic, please, so they can hear? For the person online, thanks.
In respect of this institutional, it was institutional realignment. It was moved, seconded, and a vote was actually taken that 5 million of this would have gone to bonus shares. And what happened is that when I read the minutes, I don't know where the 7.81 came about, because there would be no major realignment. All would happen is that bonus shares would be there for 5 million. The 10% permanent shares dividend of 5,385,000 would be there. So permanent shares movement would be 10.5 million over that period. What we do have, when I check and I'm sorry I got the thing so late, there's just a 6 million move. So therefore it needs to be reviewed and the necessary correction made. Because what this is saying is that based on the minutes, 7.81 was to be used to provide bonus shares. I didn't say that. It was 10 million and we agreed. I think Director Sparks has raised the issue, why not go half? And the meeting agreed that we'd go half, and it was 5 million. And if you read the minutes, it's actually said in it, 5 million to be proposed.
Okay.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I just want the correction to be made.
Thank you, Mr. Tolo, for the correction.
Thanks.
Any other correction on page 12? Move on to page 13. Page 14. Going to page 15. Page 16. Which is the final page. Okay, there be no more corrections. A motion is now in place for the approval of the minutes. Moved by Derek Tolo. Second by Daffodil Bruce Miller. Okay, Mr. Daffodil, all in favor? Any abstentions? Okay, the ayes have it. Okay, so we now move on to matters arising from the minutes. Any matter arising from the minutes? We're starting from page 5. Page 6. Page 7. Going to page 8. Page 9. Page 10. Page 11. Page 12.
Sonia Smith, page 12. Out of touch a bit, so I'd like.
Which page that, Mr. Which page?
Page 12.
Page 12, go ahead.
I'm saying I'm out of touch a bit, so I'd like to know, were the surplus distributed to members' accounts up to date? I just want to know.
Yes.
They were?
Yes.
Okay.
Page 13. Page 14. Page 15. The last page, page 16. Okay. A motion is now in place also for the acceptance of the minutes. Motion in place to accept the minutes, please. Daffodil. Pardon me? Verlin Gray. Gerlin Gray. Okay, thank you, Ms. Gray. All in favor? Any abstentions? Okay, the ayes have it. Thank you very much. Mr. President, back to you.
Yeah. I would like to, at this point, recognize persons who chair various statutory committees. We have the supervisory committee, Ms. Janet Plummer. We have sitting here in the audience, the credit committee chair, Mr. Seabert Mitchell. And the league delegate, well, the league delegates is chaired by both myself and directors Fleming. All right. All right, we are now going to be moving into our reporting section, and the report will flow as such as I will start off with the Board of Directors report, followed by the auditors and the treasurer report. Report of the Board of Directors, it's contained from page 18 to 25 in your AGM manuals. So in the interest of time, I'm just going to be doing a summation. Life throws challenges, but with patience and resilience, you can convert every challenge into a new opportunity to grow. According to Amit Ray. The year 2021 commenced with the COVID-19 pandemic creating havoc around the world, but with hopes that the rapidly developed vaccine would bring much needed relief. The restrictions instituted under the Disaster Risk Management Order earlier were mostly lifted by the second half of the year. Employment and consumption started to pick up, and both businesses and individuals began to breathe a sigh of relief. The supply chain problems, however, remained with us, causing difficulties in the sourcing of raw materials and finished goods. Combined with rising price of petroleum on the international market, this effectively enabled inflation to insert itself within the Jamaican economy. Jamaica recorded an inflation rate of 5.9% for the calendar year 2021, an increase of 0.7% over 2020, but still within the range of the 4 to 6% budgeted by the Bank of Jamaica. The overall rate for accessing credit also began trending up, ending the year at 8%, which is 2.1% above the previous year. The sharp rise in inflation rate was due to increases in housing, water, electricity, gas, and other fuels. Jamaican unemployment rate, however, declined by 0.3% from 9.48% in 2020 to 9.18% in 2021. While a year-on-year decline was observed, the level of decline was not sufficient to bring the rate below pre-COVID levels of 7.2%. Our Jamaican dollar began trading the year at Jamaican 145.39 to US $1 and closed the year at 155.99 to the US dollar. Fluctuations during the year ranged from a high of 156.31 and a low of 145.39 to the US. The country's net international reserve total $3.999.7 billion, reflecting a slight increase of US 873.6 million when compared to the prior year total of $3,126.1 million. The government of Jamaica 90-day and 180 treasury bills increased to 4.09% and 4.33% respectively in 2021, compared to 0.77 and 0.86% respectively. The Bank of Jamaica during the year continued its oversight management of cooperatives and credit unions by way of review and amendment to the Credit Union Special Provisions Bill. Due to the impending supervision of credit unions by the BOJ, your credit union continues to review and revise its standard operating procedures to ensure that we remain compliant when the rules are implemented. The credit union movement, comprising of 25 credit unions, performed reasonably well despite COVID, as indicated by their key performance indicators as well as their performance. We also saw some growth in the credit union movement, except in the area of membership. Due to the continued uncertainties, however, emanating from COVID-19, the League during the year advised credit unions of an extension to the reduction in liquid asset reserve ratio from 20% to 17% until the end of December 2021. All of this, you will be asking, but how has JPS and partners performed? Well, the year, however, saw JPS and partners operating at the most minimal cost to maximize on its return and profitability, while ensuring that the needs of the internal and external stakeholders were met. Notwithstanding the noticeable financial fallout from COVID-19, the loan payment moratorium, which started in 2020 at the height of the pandemic, continued into 2021. While emphasis was also placed on management of the operating costs. The board is again pleased to advise that all members who sought assistance under this facility honor their terms and conditions of their repayment obligations. Despite the varying challenges brought on by the pandemic, your credit union performed creditably well in most areas as operational results representing a marked improvement over 2020. Our members' share and deposit recorded growth of 4.4 and 6.6% respectively. Total assets reflected growth of 6.69 over 2020 to end the year at 5.53 billion. The loans portfolio, however, declined by 1.37% in part due to some early repayments emanating from job redundancy exercises and members adopting a wait-and-see approach to new credit requests compounded by uncertainty from the pandemic. The capital reserve, which is set aside to cushion the credit union against internal and external shocks, currently stands at 861.44 million. This position represents a 5.77% increase over 2020, total of 814.4 million. This also represents a strong position of 15.51% of total assets, which is significantly above the regulatory compliance standard of 10%. In the areas of membership, your credit union grew by 1.1% over the past year. The growth target set was to have increased membership by a minimum of 310 persons or 4%. However, we achieved a growth of 215 members or 69% of our budget due to marketing restrictions imposed by companies arising from the pandemic. Because as you know, 2021, COVID was still very much here with us. Throughout the year, however, members benefited from our loyal program that allowed access of up to 1% reduction in interest paid on some of their loan products, and from the implementation of high risk-based lending opportunities, whereby members with high debt ratios were allowed access to loans from their credit union based on assessment. Our surplus before honorarium this year recorded a growth of 80% over 2020. I have not heard anybody say anything. We recorded a surplus growth of 80% over 2020 figures of 86.51. The director's recommendation to the meeting for the appropriation of the surplus after the required 20% of to statutory reserve is deducted are set out in the treasurer's report that will follow. The credit union also continues to maintain an enviable track record of prudent delinquency management, which has become ingrained in the culture of the organization. This level of management resulted in the credit union achieving a delinquency ratio of 1.45%, which is well below the industry standard of 5% and the organization's target of 3%. All this achievement would not have been possible without the management and staff of this noble organization. And at this point, I really want to pause to commend the GM and her team for the performance and also for being willing to go the extra mile. GM, thank you on behalf of the board and shareholders. The board is eternally grateful to all stakeholders for their commitment and dedication to the growth and development of the credit union over the past 67 years. Special thanks to the Almighty God for his steadfast guidance and assurance, the anchor that keeps us grounded. To the management and staff of our partner companies, JPS, West Kingston Energy Partners and Jamaica Private Power Company, UC Rusal, Tax Administration of Jamaica, National Energy Solutions Limited, and Digicel Jamaica for their unwavering and invaluable partnership. To you, the loyal members, who have always entrusted your financial well-being to us even in difficult times. Our volunteers, committee members, and location reps, for your immeasurable effort and support during the year 2021. Special thanks to the Credit Union League and its subsidiaries, Kuna Caribbean Jamaica Limited, Jamaica Cooperative Insurance Agency, JCIA, QNet, and the registrar and staff of the Department of Cooperative and Friendly societies for their continued support. Our external auditors, BDO, and our internal auditors, Smith and Associate. Our attorneys, Messrs. Samwood and Johnson, and Richards and Richards. In the words of Robert Fritz, if you limit your choices only to what seems possible or reasonable, you disconnect yourself from what you truly want, and all that is left is a compromise. I thank you. At this time, I'm going to be inviting our treasurer. Pardon me? All right, I'm going to ask for an acceptance of the Board of Directors report. Are there any abstention? All in favor? All right. Are there any questions for the directors?
There's no question, but there's a commendation. I want to commend and dedicate the staff because I read something from Dr. Reed just this week, and the greatest asset of any company is their employees. And I'm glad that the board has recognized. And I want to thank the volunteers because I know it's never easy. I've done it, I know it's not easy. I want to commend them for what they have done and for the results and performance. I want to say well done.
Thank you very much, Past President Derek Toller. Madam Treasurer, I now invite you to take the meeting through the Treasurer's report.
Thank you, Mr. President. I now invite Ms. Jennifer Hibbert, the lead accountant for the firm that does our external audit, to read the audit statement.
Good afternoon, everyone. I will now present the abridged version of the auditor's report. Opinion. We have audited the financial statements of JPS and Partners Cooperative Credit Union Limited, set out on pages 49 to 149, which comprise the statement of financial position as at 31st December 2021, and the statements of surplus or deficit and other comprehensive income. Changes in equity and cash flows for the year then ended, and notes comprising significant accounting policies and other explanatory information. In our opinion, the accompanying financial statements give a true and fair view of the financial position of the credit union as at 31st December 2021, and of its financial performance and its cash flows for the year then ended, in accordance with International Financial Reporting Standards, IFRS, and the requirements of the Cooperative Societies Act. Basis for opinion. We conducted our audit in accordance with International Standards on Auditing, ISOs. Our responsibilities under those standards are further described in the auditor's responsibilities for the audit of the financial statements section of our report. We are independent of the credit union in accordance with the International Ethics Standards Board for Accountants, Code of Ethics for Professional Accountants, including International Independent Standards, IESBA code, and we have fulfilled our other ethical responsibilities in accordance with IESBA code. Yeah. We believe that the audit evidence we have obtained is sufficient and appropriate to provide a basis for our audit opinion. Report on additional matters as required by the Cooperative Societies Act. We have obtained all the information and explanations which,
to the best of our knowledge and belief, were necessary for the purposes of our audit. In our opinion, proper accounting records have been kept so far as appears from our examination of those records, and the financial statements which are in agreement therewith give the information required by the Cooperative Societies Act in the manner required. This report was dated the 4th of July, 2022 by BDO Chartered Accountants. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Hibbert. I now draw your attention to the Treasurer's report that is located on pages 28 through to page 32 in your AGM booklet. The pleasure is mine this afternoon to walk you through the financial stewardship of the credit union for the year 2021. But before I start, I know the president also indicated that the management team and the members contributed greatly to our performance, and I heard Mr. Tullo's commendation. It's interesting, Mr. Tullo, because we also had not only volunteers that were elected from the floor, but volunteers that we co-opted while we were running the credit union and managing it for the last year. One of them being Mr. Tullo, and we do have other credit union members in the room who helped us to guide the ship financially while we went through a very difficult period and the headwinds were strong. So while we were giving commendations to the board and the volunteers, we would like to give commendations to the members. We had Vaughn McDonald who helped us with HR, and together we do have a really invested membership base that wants us to do well. So I'll now take you through, yes, I think we should clap then. Let me now take you through the performance of the credit union for the year 2021. As the president indicated, 2021 we were still in the throes of COVID-19. While the country was opening up, we still saw the impact of COVID-19 on the global and local economy. We also saw continued devaluation of the Jamaican dollar by 8.7%. We also saw inflation increase from 6.2% to 7.3%. And we also saw some amount of interest rate adjustment by the BOJ, to a point of 2.5%. Nevertheless, the credit union, taking all of these things into consideration and being prudent in how we manage the business, was able to report improvement in some of our areas. Next slide, please. Let's look at the graph the table on the screen and in your book. The table is actually located on page 28. You would recognize that we had improvements in our share portfolio from 1.418 billion to 1.481 billion. Our deposits increased from 2.095 billion to 2.234 billion. I want to pause here because once you start looking at note 25, when you have some time, and you look at the notes that accompany what drives the saving, I want to say kudos to the credit union members, the longstanding members who, when you look at it, our member deposit moved to our tune of about 150 million. Persons, even when they got their redundancy monies, they gave it back to the credit union to hold. The long-term savers who were part of the institution of the credit union demonstrated confidence in us by keeping the money with us. And I'll speak to that when I go to my appropriation of surplus, because I do believe that the performance of the credit union in part was also because the confidence shown to us by our savers in remaining with us in terms of having their funds there. The loans portfolio had a slight dip to 2.735, as was indicated by the president. We did see a number of redundancies in the market. Some of our parent company, JPS, and to some extent, Windalco, basically curtailed employment activities and in some cases reduced employment. And you would understand that when you have a COVID impact, as well as persons not quite sure about their jobs, taking out loans is what persons don't do. They really stay and see how well they can keep their capital and weather the storm. Our asset base grew to 5.553 billion as opposed to 5.192 billion. Our institutional capital that Mr. Tullo clapped, and many persons might be wondering why. It also helps us to weather the storm and be able to assess in terms of asset growth and structure. Is something that we, as a movement and as a credit union, ensure that we are not just meeting the ratio, but better than the ratio. For persons who don't know, JPS and Partners was one of the best institutional capital in the marketplace. And even in times of trial, we are able to deliver surplus. We know bigger institutions than us that have not reported anything near the surplus that we are putting on the board. We are reporting 150 million in terms of surplus, and we'll detail what is in the surplus in the report I'll be presenting. This is, in my mind, and to most persons on the board and persons in the market space, a tremendous performance by JPS and Partners Credit Union. Next slide, please. Let's look at how we got our revenue. And our revenue sources, as I indicated, we had loan interest income that came from our loan at 65%. We then had rental income, because as you are aware, we do have a property that is not there for rental. Let me just put it out there, just in case our regulators are listening to us. The property that we have at LMR, it is and was bought by our, do I call it our founders and our leaders who had forethought and ideas to how we must grow strategically, Mr. Tuller, right? And our plan for LMR is not to continue to just keep it a rental business, but also to use it to improve the service delivery of the credit union. So therefore, the regulators, if you're listening, it is not just a rental. We're not in the business of renting. We're in the business of ensuring that whatever income that we have is given back to our members. We do have some fee income that was driven by the loans, 6.11%. We had investments, 11.16% was where the revenue came from that area. And we do had some evaluation. Now the evaluation information can be found in note 33 in your booklet. And it is on page, and my apologies, I had written it down for you so that we can, you will find it from page 146 through to 148 about whatever revaluation and prior adjustments that we had. And my auditors are here just to back me up as I go through the explanation. The slide that follows shows you the movement of our interest income. And you would see the dip that the president was talking about in terms of our interest income, due to redundancies and things that are driving the business, that is causing us to not see as much interest income as we expected. However, we are not perturbed at this point in time with the slight dip, because we believe that we do have some strategies coming on board that will change the trajectory and improve the performance. It might take about a year or two to recover. However, we are confident that with, next slide, vigorous investment strategy, improving our internal controls, disbursing new loans, while, as the president indicated, maintaining low delinquency rates and containing our operating costs, we'll be able to continue to improve on our income stream. Once you have income, you now have to allocate the revenues that we make. And the slide, as fancy as it looks, is a very simple slide. It basically goes through what we did with the revenues that we earned and how well we managed the revenue that we earned. So while you're looking at the slide, and when you have some time, it is in the booklet, of the revenue that we earned and allocation of where those revenue came from and what we did with it, 2% went to marketing. In your booklet, you'll realize that our marketing budget and our expend for marketing moved from 4 million to a high of 8 million or thereabout. We were spending a lot more money trying to push the marketing campaign to, as you notice, invite younger and more members to the credit union. A lot of our members, persons outside who are not members, don't understand and are not appreciative of the fact that once you have a light bill, you can become a member of JPS and Partners Credit Union. They still do believe that we are just an in-house credit union, only catering to employees of JPS. Our marketing campaign attempted at a point in time to bring in new members because the demographic of the credit union, we needed to ensure that our membership base in terms of the age group is lowered and therefore build our membership base. And we attempted that. We are also doing a lot more digitization of our marketing. We spent 4% for reputational costs, 50% for interest in expense, 21% of the revenue can be allocated to expenditure for administration, 29% for personal costs, and the remaining 28% as surplus. Next slide, please. The chart that follows basically shows you what we spoke about in terms of our surplus. And you see that we've moved from just around 86 to 154 million. In this surplus that you are seeing, and I'll quickly deal with it, a portion of it comes from us re-evaluating our investment property. We also had to reverse accruals for investment property as well. And therefore, as you read through page 33, sorry, note 33, all the revaluation as to how we had to treat with it is detailed in it, right? And therefore, when we get to the appropriation of surplus, because of some of the revaluation that we did, not all of the surplus will be distributed on the floor. Next slide, please. The graph that follows walk you through what comprise our liquid and our financial investments for the year. Now, because we had done revaluation of our investment portfolio, you would have seen some adjustments over the prior years. Our auditors, who we changed, and I must commend my auditor because I think they rolled their eyes at us several times, wonder why they even signed a contract with us, because persons in the room would understand, as you realize, they had to do 3 years. They had to restate 2 years and then did the year that we were asking them to do, right? And we were not the best of clients, I must say. We were not the best of clients, and they stuck with us. They went through it painstakingly, night and night, day and day, the calling, the morning calls, the lunchtime calls, just to make sure that we got it right. Mrs. Hibbert, thank you. Thank you so much. She took the time to ensure that we got it right, right? And to ensure that we accounted properly and valued the assets that we had properly based on the IFRS standards that govern the credit union. I know a lot of members were asking us what took so long, but our auditing procedure and processes took us a little longer than expected. In terms of our loan portfolio and our total assets, the graph will show that we are somewhat, I would want to consider to be a little bit flat in where we need to go. And I tell my team members this all the time, for us to grow the credit union and to be all that we have to be, our loan portfolio will have to grow. Granted, there are some drastic movement in terms of total asset, but our loan portfolio has been hovering around the 2.5, 2.8 billion. And there is room in there for us to improve. We have been pushing it in terms of what we do as we look at our compulsory savings that are linked to the loans, as well as what we can do for interest rates. And as you would realize, we've had several combos running. We have also been doing a lot of financial seminars because a lot of our members will go to a bank and they'll give them a starting interest rate. And they don't know the whole issue of variable rates. So they bring you to the door with a low interest rate. And by the time the next month comes, you realize that the payments are moving up and it's ballooning. Right? And persons do not realize the whole issue of variable rates, the whole issue of, for the first 3 months, this whole issue of moratorium on paying a certain part of your principal and what ends up happening once you start paying the loan. And we have to spend time educating our members that it is not all that glitters are gold, right? And you have a tried and proven in the credit union that we will spend the time to ensure that you get the best value for your loan. In terms of, next slide, please. Our members deposit, as I said before, our members have stuck with us through thick and thin. And in terms of our shares, our loan delinquency, we do have really good members because our loan portfolio ratio is now at 1.78%. And let me tell you this, a lot of persons in the movement would beg to be anywhere near this number, right? Let's leave the movement alone. NCB would beg to be anywhere near this number, right? And persons say that we are conservative in what we do in our loan management. And why don't we do this, right? We have to balance the loans that we give with the ability to pay because we do have some regulation or impact. And at your board of stewards, What we do not want to do is to come back in the room next year to say to you, because we have raised and we have shifted and we have taken on the barriers in terms of how you can get loan. Guess what? The delinquency balloon to 7-8%. Granted, I'm not saying we do not have room to improve in terms of how we give loans and being able to be more flexible. But just to say what the numbers you're seeing there now is fantastic. It is, I basically am saying to you, other than a few in-house credit union, we are one of the best in terms of delinquency control. In terms of loan loss provision, which is driven by what happens to our loans, we had to make some loan loss provisions because of loans that were not being paid. The provision decreased from 6.33 million to 5.67 million in 2021. Now we are managed by what is what's called the PERD ratio. I am not using that slide as yet, please. I am not using that slide as yet. We are managed by what is termed the PERD ratio. It's in our book, and there's a chart there. The PERD ratio tells you, and when you open your book onto page 32, you will be able to see the PERD ratio. Now, many of the credit unions, because the time, what we're trying to do, members, is ensure that once we stand here and we speak to you, you're confident that you can take up the book at another time and say to yourself, they got it right. The PERD rate is what we use to assess and to measure how well we are doing overall as a movement and as a credit union. And therefore, there are some of the ratios that deal with our financial structure, our asset quality. It looks at how we're doing in terms of return on investment. And therefore, as you look at our net loans to total assets in page 32 of your booklet, you'll realize that we are not where we're supposed to be because the standard says that we should be 68%. And we are now at 49.27%, right? As I indicated before, we can grow the loan portfolio up there, but it comes with the impact of where we are in terms of delinquency, what we do in terms of managing the loans. And we do it gradually and ensure that we are giving both sides of the puzzle the best chance of success. In terms of quality of our assets, we spoke about our institutional capital, the growth signs of growth in terms of our quality of assets, our total delinquency to gross loans, way below the 5% marker, the ratio of 5.5. Our operating expense, we're way below the 8% that we should be. We're at 5.37%. And as a small credit union, and my management team tells me this all the time, that we need to get more personnel and there needs to be some more stuff in there. And let me say to you, and Ms. Jarrett behind my back, she'll tell you this, we are a very hard taskmaster in terms of ensuring that operating cost remains where it is. And we fight most days about it, but let me tell you this, even when we are finished fighting, they themselves cut the cost. So therefore, they are on board in terms of how we can reduce the cost, ensure that the operating expense remains where it is, which means that we all have the same interest, the credit union at heart. In terms of the slides that we're now presenting, I would like you to go back to the slide that had, go back one for me, please. Sorry. Before the PERD ratio, income and expenditure, I just want to pause on that slide for a little bit. Thank you. We spoke about revaluation and what we'll have to distribute. So you would have said to me, but Ms. Sparks, what board, you made 154 million. Why are we only going to be distributing 65 million? Now, based on statutory reserve, we'll have to take away 20%, right? Because of the revaluation that we did on our assets, and my auditors are here to confirm, we cannot distribute that amount of money. So we are taking out, we're transferring it to a reserve, evaluation reserve of 55 million. And we had to do some transfer to the retirement benefit reserve of 3 million. So therefore, we really only have 65 million to distribute in terms of surplus. Before I close, however, in delivering the report, I want to pause at this point in time to thank some persons who have worked with us. You know, my assistant treasurer, and I'm taking school, or should I tell them? She went through a delivery, and I think you were online the next month or next week, right? She was in the room on the platform, even though most of us would be, she was there ensuring that we were able to continue the credit union business. And therefore, Timeen, thank you very, very much, right? It's just a sacrifice was unbelievable. Yeah, man. I see my past treasurer, Debbie, creeping in. Hello, Ms. Campbell, right? Part of the finance committee that Mr. Toller sits on, right? Diligent through their lunchtime, just ensuring that we have the meeting. And then when I don't have the meeting, they call to ask when we're having the meeting and to make sure that they read the report and send their notes. And for volunteers and for members, thank you very much, Debbie and Mr. Toller. I would like to also thank the board of directors for keeping us on our toes, asking the questions they need to ask. I would like to also thank Ms. Jarrett, especially Ms. Jarrett, because we have gone through a number of changes in the credit union, inclusive of at one point in time for a couple of months, 2 months, we had no finance manager, about 2 months, right? You wouldn't know. You would not know. The team that we have in the credit union, they did the work. They did the work. You would not know that we lost a financial manager for 2 months in the height of a audit. You would not know. They were on point, they did the work, they did the calculations, they got the information out when we had to get it out, right? And granted, we're not perfect, and granted, of course, some balls were dropped and we had to pick them up, but you would not know. They worked the way they had to get this thing done. So thank you, Ms. Jarrett. And I stayed all the while to Mr. Harris' team. Mr. Harris, our new financial and treasury manager. Mr. Harris, say hello to the team members. He's coming with a wealth of experience and background, right? And we are looking forward to what he can bring to the table in terms of Siobhan. Is not where Siobhan? He's outside. He actually held that. My accountant held the ship for 2 months, and you wouldn't even know that he was not the sitting finance manager. Excellent bunch of employees that we do have and committed employees. I would like to also thank the League for their guidance, the Co-op Society for their patience, because Mr. Brown and Nadia will know that we are not the best of bunch to manage, but then we take guidance when we are guided. In terms of the BOJ regulators who ask for the reports that we do deliver it on time, thank you. In terms of my supervisor committee and my credit committee, Siebert, who helps us ensure that the loans are processed on time and that the business continues to be viable, we want to thank them for that. The volunteers, myself and the anti-main part of the treasury would like to say thank you for just supporting us through 2021 into 2022, which the headwinds are still there and we are adjusting as we go on. I want to thank my internal auditors. Mr. Smith is online. And for the person, you know this, right? An internal auditor is not somebody who we like. They come in and they look for the faults that you have. They know this. They look for all the things that we should do and they ensure that we do them well. And if we're not doing them well, they will write you're not doing them well, right? They have stuck with us over the years and they have provided us reports to ensure that we remain viable, that we meet all the regulations or guidelines. And wherever we falter, they are quick to ensure that and document it. In terms of my external auditor, BDO, I already said it already, Mrs. Siebert. I don't know who's going to get rid of me because I'm sticking to you like glue because you have done us justice in terms of just painstakingly holding our hands to make sure we got it right. Sometimes you could hear the frustration, but hey, professionalism, we know it all the time. Thank you very much for that. In closing, I want to thank God for just guiding this credit union through a very interesting 2021 into 2022. We have weathered most of the storm. We still have some headwinds that we're dealing with for 2022, but we are confident that with your help and with the help of God, we are able to overcome all of these things. Thank you. I'll take questions on the treasury report before I go to the other part of setting the maximum liability and dealing with the distribution of surplus. And any questions? Any guidance? Thank you, Mr. Tolo. Mike, hi, Mr. Delahaye, thank you. And then Mr. Tolo. Mr. Delahaye first, this is Winston Delahaye.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Winston.
Actually, good report. You raise a concern though about the investment property and the regulators, but what's the concern they have with us having an investment property?
What they have said is that property, just the property sitting there with this apartment is not our core business. We should stick to core. So any property that we have, it must used to deliver the service to the members. And right now, all we have on it is, everybody know the property, right across from AC Hotel, where you have that land space and you have the apartment in the back. So when we bought it, the concept was that we are not realtors, we are not speculators of properties. We really should be using it to improve the service delivery, improve the business of the credit union.
So it's just a piece of land?
We have some apartments in the back of it.
Okay, so it's rented, so we get income from that.
We're getting some income from it, but that's not our core business. We're not a renter. We're not supposed to be in the rental business, huh? BOG has written us about it as well.
All right.
So we are going to, I know over the years we have talked about it. The board now is in the position whereby I know when Mr. Tuller was part of the team on the board, we're looking to look at how we can partner with someone to develop it. Developers actually came in the room, but then
so
they
if it were to be developed, to do what?
What we would do is use part of it as our office space, or back office operations, and then the developers themselves would make an income off it, and we could get some rental income. But mainstay would now be in the space, utilizing it for the business.
Understood. All right. Thanks for that.
No problem.
There's something else I read. You never meant, well, perhaps you did. And I'm sure this is not being addressed in several AGMs before, but I can't remember. And I'm curious.
Go ahead.
The pension. Why do we have the type of pension we have and not a defined contribution? Why do we have a defined benefit?
We are now, I thought we had moved to defined contribution, Mr. Tolo, over a couple of years ago. Go ahead. A pension trustee. Go ahead, Mr. Tolo.
Yes, we have. It says defined benefit.
What have you guys? Go ahead.
I just want to clear the thing is that there are two pension schemes that is run by the Jakun. There's the DB plan and the DC plan. The DB plan was closed off.
So if you're in, you're in.
Right. So those people who join up to a particular point, I think it was up to 2008, was in the DB 16. Plan.
Like 16. So 16
in the DB. No, I'm talking about Jakul, not not 16? JPS. Okay.
2016, Ms. Jarrett said.
Right. 2016, right. And what happens is that all new employees thereafter is on the DC plan.
And that was a vote that was done by the members at a meeting.
That's correct. And that was done to achieve the objective that the employer would not have to bear any liability because
that's
the
concern.
employee,
that's
right?
Concern.
Okay.
All right. The last observation, so you spent some time speaking to that. You spoke about what might be available for distribution. I think you mentioned some 60-something million.
65 million. 65 million.
I am not so certain from my observation that will be the amount we have for distribution. Unless
okay, tell me why.
I am misunderstanding.
Tell me why, please.
On page 123, note 13, you have a revaluation adjustment of 57 million. On page...
Go again. Sorry, Mr. Delahaye. Just let me page. Start again. Page what?
Page
123.
Note 13, under the year 2021, the revaluation adjustment, which is a positive 57 million. And that clearly, from my understanding, this is on properties that we used for our primary purpose. Primarily, I suspect it's the main office we have. And then on page again, sorry, I think I missed this one.
Yeah, but 55.
But this is the one, I think I missed it.
55.
155 or 55?
No, 55 million you're looking for, right?
Yes, the one, the fair value, which is now the property to which I asked the first question.
Are you looking for notes 25,
the
page
investment
140?
property, I think it's 20, I don't remember.
Loan, note 25, is that
it's
note
the
25?
Investment property, is the investment property, which is, I'm sure it's the
55
same
million,
one
101.
you're talking about, that I asked you about before. The revaluation of the investment property, which has to be the same property around the road you're talking about. Well, unless you have other properties that I'm not aware of. Those are unrealized, and that together, 55 and 57 is over 1 million. Over 1 million. So why sort of profits on paper is good this year? It is just, from my understanding, it is just merely paper profit and can't be distributed. So I'm not certain that 67 or 60, whatever the figure you mentioned, will be available. It is my view that far less will be available because it's unrealized. Well, further low than that, in my estimation. So in terms of, no, again, remember I am aware, I'm sure the auditors can support this, that the revaluation surplus, the revaluation could go south at the end of this year. We could have some clawback. So I understand that. So since we're not intending to sell the property that you spoke about, investment property, nor are we going to send our main office or wherever else we have PPEs, then it therefore means that those will not be realized, will never be realized.
Could you give Ms. Ebert, who was going to respond?
Oh,
Sorry.
So I'm not certain how way.
Janet.
The point is, I think I don't think we have 60 something.
Well, go ahead.
To distribute. It's a far smaller amount. Just off the top of my head. Yes, go ahead.
No, those the unrealized portions were adjusted out of your profit, out of the distributable profit.
Look at this.
If you look in the equity account, you see where they were adjusted out.
I will double check.
Yes,
and
please.
I'm sure I know who I'll talk to, who I need to talk to. But I just think it's just too much that we have there. But I'll double check it. I got the document today and I just personally look at those, but it doesn't feel that way to me. But I leave it there. Thanks, though.
And just a note for what Mr. Delahaye said about today. And we do apologize that it was late in delivering the hard copy, but going forward, well, it was online, and I know some persons don't have any time, so we're going to ask that going forward, send a text message out again that we replace the accounting statement there from about a month ago, right? When I did my when we did our final video review. So going forward, I'll just send a note to you so you can check it before.
All right, sir.
Mr. Toller, you had the mic.
Yes,
Go ahead, Mr. Toller.
Madam Treasurer, I just want to point out of that 65 million, approximately 30 million is going to statutory reserve. The only funds that will be distributed based upon IC recommendation here is the dividend for parent shares of 6.2 million and also the patronage refund. The rest of them are going to reserves and remain in the institution.
Okay.
And after this, I just want to commend you for the good report that you presented. As a scientist, you have done justice to the accounting field, and I want to commend you for this component. Right. Next, I just want to place on record I think I just wait about the movement in parent shares, how we're going to handle it going forward.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, we had a question online from Mr. Norman Lee. He pointed out that we spent 4 million more. I think we were 48 million, Mr. Lee. How many new members did this bring in? You gave the number before, Mr. President. Was it 200 and some? I think it was 200. And why is the credit union not the best client? Why is the credit union not the best client, Mr. Lee? Because not understand what best client mean. Why the credit union not the best client? Are you meaning we're not the best service provider in terms of loans to you? I'm not quite sure. Remember, but we're not the best client. Are you talking? I mean the auditor? Okay, yeah, the auditor. Okay, so the auditors. When we started with the auditors, right? Because they're the new auditors. They had to do a lot more background work than an auditor that was there with us for the last couple of years. So they had to do what we've normally done twice over 2 years we've got 250 members, Mr. Lee, right? And therefore, just pulling the documentation, we had to move documents from different locations under lock and key to get them into one location in the head office for them. I think the auditors were like, okay, one of the time we were asking the auditors, do you want to come to Kirkbank where some of the files are? And I think she was like, bring everything up there. And we had to work late with them. And to be very blunt, we ourselves had a lot of documents to pull for her. And sometimes we weren't doing it fast enough. because of just where the documents were properly located. We did have some of the documents at Kirkby and at Yorton. So I don't think she appreciated that we had a lot of, added some days to our time, but she worked with us and we asked questions because as Mr. Tullow will tell you, as a scientist, you don't give me numbers without explaining to me why this is happening, and we argued about it and we looked at the fair value. So, because my job was not just to take the numbers that she gave, my job was also to agree to the numbers and understand the numbers, and even because we are scientists, we love numbers. That's the worst thing, to have persons who like numbers, working with numbers. We went long, so not the best of clients. Mr. Bogle, Deborah Bogle, your hands up in the chat. Mr. Bogle, we are going to take your question, but from Carla Archer, is there a committee set up to deal with the residential assets? Yes, there is, Carla. We do have an infrastructure committee. If there are deadline action to the BOJ concerns. No, the BOJ have been writing us, they haven't beaten us up as to when we must do it, but internally, we know that for this, not for this year, because the year is almost finished. By next year, when the new board sets in, we are now going to start actively dealing with a partner for the next step, because we are planning not to sell it, just to say that we have gotten offers. You could understand that property and the value of that property, right? My forebears for the credit union was really, really smart. We have gotten some serious offers, even from the neighbor next door and the one in front. You know, people want that asset. So well done, Mr. Toller and all the guys. But we're not selling it. We're going to develop it and use it for our business and get some income off it as well to stabilize whatever earnings that we have. Mr. Bogle.
No, he said it.
Mr. Bogle, Deborah Bogle was applauding. It's not a question. All right, so Carla, I hope I answered your question where that is concerned. There being no question, I am going to ask, before I go to maximum liability setting, that I have a motion that the treasury report be accepted. So moved by Ron McDonald, seconded by Siebert Mitchell. All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Now I point you to the appropriation of registrar, sir. I didn't hear who moved and second. Ron McDonald, seconded by Siebert Mitchell. Okay, can I have a motion that the treasurer's report and the auditor's report be moved by Vaughan McDonald, seconded by Siebert Mitchell? All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Now I point you to page 35. This is now the appropriation of surplus. We are distributing, after we have put aside the monies for the statutory reserve and the transfer to revaluation reserve and the retirement benefit reserve, 65,780,534. Now, we would like to pay dividends against permanent shares to the value of 9%. That will account for $6,208,786. Then we want to do something that we have not done a number of years. We listened, I think last year it was raised, and it was raised the year before and the year before, where our long-term savers are saying, hey, you have done returns for the persons who have loans, we have written back, what about the savers? And we had looked at it and we coined, and I think we got the coinage from a member in the room, patronage refund. So our long-term savers, persons who have special deposits, who have stuck with us and have loaned us their monies to lend to you. Thank you, thank you. We are, when we look at calculation, we would like to give back approximately $11,171,748 back to the group of individuals. That in our calculation works out to approximately 1% of the money to be distributed. Sorry, 1% against what we have there. Institutional capital, 8 million. You might be asking yourself, but you're better than the rest. Why are you putting 8 million institutional capital? When we looked at the headwinds coming towards us and what we have to do and what we might have to do in terms of loans and stabilizing the organization, we figured that we should not at this point in time reduce the input or institutional capital. We need to be as strong as possible for what comes ahead. In terms of organizational realignment, when we started this fund a couple of years ago, persons asked us what we use it for. In this room, we had to go through a salary evaluation and a reclassification. Okay, sorry, I'll get Norman. a salary classification. And over the years, we have been tucking aside monies because we knew that we would have to make retroactive payments and all of that. And that organizational realignment fund was useful in ensuring that we were able to at least cover the retroactive payment to the staff. We had a reclassification exercise even in the middle of COVID. We did that in 2021, right? And people might say, what, you did that when things were, yes, we did. It was on the books to be done, and we were in conversation with the union for years, and we had to take a hard ball to just bite the bullet and get it done. Kudos to Bob McDonald again, Debbie, who was in the room, David in the room, who's not here now, and a number of the team members, right? And let's just say it was a compromise. They didn't get all they wanted, but we were able to meet at a certain position and reclassify the staff, right? This particular fund is necessary for things like these. When you want to reorganize an organization, you need to have some amount of capital to get that done. In terms of honoraria, we are going down from last year to 3.6 million. Our scholarship and outreach reserve, 2.8 million. It is important to us that we still keep this. I think when we looked at it over the years, we have been having scholarships for the founders of JPS and the merging group, which was TAG at the time. There was a comment and brought to the table that we really should recognize all founders of the credit union that merged with us. Plus, every so often, we get requests for persons who need help. Where our membership, something happens and you hear that something burned down at Westmoreland or somebody has an issue and they need some help. And we are attempting at all times, even if we can't meet all their needs, we want to contribute. Every little make a muckle. In terms of software upgrade and technology improvement, 30 million. Just to say, years ago, we spent a tidy sum upgrading the software. We are now at the juncture where we need to make a decision. Is the software that we have the one that will carry us to where we want to go? My team is telling me no. Some people are saying yes, but the majority of the team members are saying it's time for us to revisit our software. To get that done, and persons would understand this, software upgrade runs you anywhere around $60 million to $70 million. But we have been putting aside reserves over the years to get this thing done. And therefore, at this point in time, we are going to be asking for that we appropriate 30 million to the software upgrade, because as you know, everybody's going on their phones, they want to be in their homes and get stuff, the loan documents signed up online, and we put facilities in place. If you go to a particular credit union, and this is kudos to credit unions, you'll find that you have credit unions now with face recognition. You just go up the teller, you don't fill out anything, you give them your ID number, and the thing is running seamlessly, right? Granted, with technology, we do have a mixed organization, so we'll be having a technology push while not losing the touch that we have with our older members, because I don't think some of my members want to be on the screen looking. They need to be able to deal with them personally. So we're meeting both of those needs, right? So we're not going to digitize the point where when you come into the lobby, you see nobody but a screen. No, but we're going to make it such that you're more efficient. In terms of infrastructure upgrade, our light bill, yes, we're JPS, but we don't get any free light bill. We don't get any cut, right? Them charge us the same thing that they charge everybody else, right? And I think we need to start protesting, right, guys? However, yes, JPS said, however, we have looked at the infrastructure and we think it's now time for us to start. We should have done it some years ago, start putting in solar panels and getting ourselves off the grid to some extent. So we are looking at infrastructure, plus the question that you asked Della here about what we're planning to do about LMR. We have some money in there to start the architecture look and see of this thing. So we're putting aside 2 million now. We have other reserves of the years that we're building up. So that is our appropriation proposal from the board of directors to the membership. I will now take questions before I move a motion for any adjustment. Or do I move it first and then discuss the adjustment, Registrar? Do you want me to table it first and then take the adjustment, then move it back? Okay, take the question. Go ahead, Stebert. Mitchell. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you very much, Madam Treasurer, or should I say, Madam Engineer.
You're welcome. I take all of them.
I don't know if you have this figure on hand,
Go ahead.
but I am interested to know what the cumulative figure as it relates to the software upgrade, that amount that this 30 million will take us to? If you have that figure on hand.
In the reserve for the software, was it 20? I don't have the figure now, but it's in the book, but it's about 20 or 18. We had about 20 million, but I will confirm and send it to you because we had about 20 million there already. I'm going to find it while you're talking. We did have some money in the reserves, in the reserve listing. I'll find the reserve listing while you're talking.
All right, thank you.
No problem. I'll find the reserve listing because we did have some money in the reserve for software upgrade. I think we were arguing about that number over the years. Yes, Madam. Yes. Sonia Smith.
I understand special deposits, but can you define long life savers for me, please? To make it not.
Ms. Jarrett, you want to take that? Go ahead, Ms. Jarrett. No, Mr. Toller, you don't want to take that, Mr. Toller. Don't take that. Don't take that, Mr. Toller. I mean, no, but we're not going to make it. I don't want to.
Fellow corporators, good afternoon. The lifelong savings account is a tax-free investment account. And as long as you keep your money in this account for a minimum of 5 years, then you get it tax-free. Should you are also allowed to withdraw at least 25% from your interest that you have earned on this product. So I'll just use this opportunity to encourage all my members to call the credit union and invest in this product. You'll be saving a lot of interest income coming back to you.
Question, the patronage fund, how do you identify the special deposit part of it in terms of long savers? How the special deposit savers for the patronage, is it that once you're a special deposit account holder? Once you're a special deposit holder?
The balance at the end of December 31st, 2021.
Okay. You'll benefit.
Okay.
Straight across the board.
Seabird, page 138. If you go across to what the balance was at the end of for software reserve, it's showing 25,524,782. At the end of December. Yeah, 25 million. Yes, that's what we had here. So we're going to add another 30 to it now. Okay. Mr. Toller? Sorry.
Just a quick question, Madam Treasurer. The $5 million bonus that should have been given last year or distributed last year, how would that be handled?
The 5
because
million, go ahead.
Last year, current shares should have gone up
by that 5 million.
Yes. So this 5 million should be distributed to members.
All members.
Yes, all members. It wasn't done because there was some should I say this
information in the minutes?
Right, in the minutes. So what happens is that it needs to be adjusted that all members now receive this 5 million. And I'm recommending I look at it could be look at the institutional capital, be adjusted by the.
You want to take it from here, Mr. Toller?
Why I'm recommending institutional capital is that at the end of the day, parent shares is part of your overall institutional capital. Because only withdrawn when the person close the accounts, and we don't have people closing accounts in the credit union movement. So it will have no impact from a financial perspective. It's just a realignment.
So you want to take institutional capital
yes.
to 3 million?
Right. And then the bonus shares that should be distributed based on the approval at the last AGM.
Mr. But wasn't it not done? We need to check because I could have thought it was
Can
done.
you verify, please?
I need to verify.
Yeah, but
let me verify.
But I'm asking that whatever needs to be done,
to make that 5 million done.
Put in place that the members benefit.
Okay, I need to check and see if that wasn't done. I'm surprised it wasn't done because I could have sworn it was done. It was done, but we'll check it when we're finished, Mr. Toller.
And why I'm asking this question, if you look, I have my details here. If you look at the 2020 book, the 2020 book is indicating that we had this We had placed for parent shares over 5 million in terms of allotment. And what happened is that the 5 million from bonus shares would give you 10 million. If you look in your report, the move on page, the movement in parent shares was around 6 million.
I'm looking.
I'm going to show you.
I'm looking. No. It's important that we clear up everything.
Parent shares, if you look at page 31, it said in 2020 it was 62.93. In 2020 it was 62.93, and in 2021 it's 68.99. Right, and that movement only reflects the dividends that was paid on parent shares in 2020.
Non-cash, well,
So
non-cash.
I need some verification to be done.
If a payment of non-cash dividend approved that an increase in membership. Okay, but I'll check it. We'll check distribution, but for the floor, we'll have to now have two version of what should happen to the surplus.
Yes.
For the record.
Yes.
What you're moving is that in the event that we have checked the statements of accounts and what had happened to the distribution, and that 5 million was not properly allocated, then you are recommending that institutional capital goes down to 3 million, and that 5 million is then readjusted and repositioned to the permanent shares account of all the employees, of the members, sorry. If it was done, then there's no other, everything else remains the same, and you do support the others. Okay, so let me table it for the registrar who's in the room so that I don't get any issues. So here we go. Based on the appropriation of surplus in the book on page 35, the recommendation is that registrar 6,208,786 is given to dividend on permanent shares. Patronage refund 11,171,748. Institutional capital, if the 5 million that was approved in the 2021 AGM was not distributed in the permanent shares, that 5 million be taken from the institutional capital, and the institutional capital reduces itself to 3 million, and the 5 million is given to permanent shares. If, however, it was already distributed, having checked it, the institutional capital remains at 8 million, sorry. Organizational realignment, 2 million, honorarium, 3.6 million, scholarship and outreach, 2.8 million, software upgrade, 30 million. There was a question now from Norman Lee. If the 30 million software upgrade over a year, no, Norman, what happens is that you will never spend the entire 30 million, but I can guarantee you, once you start a software upgrade, the software providers always ask for 50% of their money, right? Because they give the story about buying stuff and all manner of things in their contractual agreement. So you will not be spending the full 60, but I can guarantee you might be the 30. By the time the year is done, will be spent. So in essence, moving this 30 to what we have will bring the money up to 55 million. And I suspect that it might not be enough, but we will be able to, by the time we get to the next appropriation, cover whatever shortfall there is. Infrastructure upgrade would be 2 million, and that will appropriate for the 65,780,534. May I have a motion that the recommended appropriation as just indicated be accepted? So moved by Mr. Earl Monroe. Seconded by Derek Toller. All in favor? Thank you very much. I will now take you to the page 36, maximum liability. Now, this is a motion moved by the board of directors, and we need a seconder, but let me read it first. Whereas the credit unions are required to obtain the approval of the general meeting for the maximum liability, they may incur in voluntary shares, loans, and deposits. And whereas the current limit approved by the last general meeting was for this board to borrow up to an amount not exceeding a ratio of 16 times of the society's capital and reserve fund. Whereas the board of directors is satisfied that the present functions of the JPS and Partners Cooperative Credit Union can be discharged within the limit of 16 times previously established Be it resolved that the board of the directors may incur a liability in voluntary shares, deposits, and/or loans from any source on such terms of payment or security provided that the total liability shall not exceed a ratio of 16 times of the society's capital and reserve fund. For and on behalf of the board of directors, it's been moved by the board of directors. May I have a seconder, please? Okay, all in favor? Okay. Why is that not used to confirm no? Mr. Normally, I know we've passed it, but I need to answer. You said, why is that not able to confirm new follow question to the software plan? Follow. Why is it not able to confirm the 30 million?
Confirm that 30 million will be spent.
No, Mr. Lee, what will happen that we can't confirm it for software upgrade? Just quickly for the meeting. When you do a software upgrade and you have done your scope of work, right? And you do your terms that you want them to do. They'll go back. We will then select a software provider. We'll have to do testing. You have a lot of things between the time that you select the software to getting the software, even in the system. They now have to come and dump your data. If you use a different software provider, it takes a time. It's not as simple as a plan is there and you pull a house plan and you build a house. A software conversion worse if you select a software that is new with all the bells and whistles. It took us about 2 years the last time we did the last one. It took us about 2 years. And that was 2 years, a lot of sleepless nights just to get the data to look the way it must look and to feel the same way and give the same information. So it will not be done in 1 year. And what you realize, and I'm not taking Tales of the School, so you saw it. Look at, I will not call the bank name. Every so often their platform goes down because the software conversion, the last 3 years, still not finished. So every so often the platform drops off. Software conversion and changing a software is a very delicate matter. And with all the issues with cyber security, you have to lock every door, lock every window as you go through. It's not a 1 year spend, some cases not a 2 year spend. Right? And the bigger the organization is, the more detail you want, the more security features you want, it does take some time. I hope I answer your question, Mr. Lee. And you had a question about what the impact of the 250 members. There is an impact, and our board of directors on a monthly basis, look at the business that the new members bring to the table. My credit manager, when you have some time, you can, the acting one, which is Carl Grant, and whichever one comes back in, you can just call him. We do have a table that speaks to exactly every single new member that comes into the credit union, what level of business they bring to us in terms of shares, loans, deposits, because we have to know if the members that we're getting, if it's just paper member or members that are going to help us to build a credit union. Okay. That being said, I want to thank you all for your support and do have a good evening.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm sure many of you, despite it was a lengthy presentation, it was necessary because it at least tells you how the board of directors have been managing the stewardship that you have entrusted upon them. At this time, I'm going to be moving to the various committees for their report. I'm going to start by asking the member from the supervisory committee, followed by the credit committee. Nobody from the supervisory committee is here. Wow. All right, the supervisory committee report is contained in the manual at page 150. and I read it. The supervisory committee is comprised of 5 volunteers duly elected by members of the credit union at the general meeting. The committee is an oversight body of the credit union, which is elected for the purpose of audit and supervision. The committee's role and responsibilities are governed by the Cooperative Societies Act 1950 and guided by the Jamaica Cooperative Credit Union League Supervisory Committee Guide 2000, as well as Article X, Rule 48 to 51 of the Rules of the JPS and Partners Credit Union. The term of service is for 1 year. Members may, however, serve 3 consecutive 1 year. The following volunteers served on the Supervisory Committee for the financial year 2021. Members who serve up to November 25th, 2021 retired as stipulated by the rules of the credit union. A new committee was elected at the annual general meeting held on November 25th, 2021. The first official meeting of the new committee was held on December 2, 2021, where the members elected the persons to serve in the various offices as detailed below. The chairperson was Mrs. Janet Morrison Plummer. She served from January 1 to November 25th, 2021, and November 26th to December 31st, 2021. Vice Chair was Ms. Deirdre Cardner Campbell, and her term of office was from January 1 to November 25th, 2021. The Secretary was Ms. Timaine Campbell, who is now a member of the board. She was the secretary at the time. Her service was January 1 to November 25th, 2021. The assistant secretary was Ms. Althea White Sutherland, with the same service period from January 1 to November 25th, 2021. And member Ms. Jody Ann Jolly, service January 1 to November 25th, 2021. We also had Ms. Cheryl Hall from November 26th to December 31st, 2021. Ms. Cheryl Brown from November 26th to December 31st, 2021. And Mr. Courtney Harrison from November 26th to December 31st, 2021. The activities undertaken by the committee during the year included audit reports. The internal auditor, Smith and Associates, conducted monthly audits at the head office and bi-monthly audits of the Yuatan and Kirkvine branches. The activities of the Ocean Boulevard branch, which was closed in March 2020, were reported under the head office. These audit reports were reviewed and monthly submission made by the committee to the board of directors to highlight issues and or to make recommendation for improvement. No significant matter was identified, and the management maintains its commitment to strengthen the risk and compliance unit in order to quickly identify issues and to ensure that any reoccurrence is reduced or eliminated. Committee members participated in the following training courses and workshops facilitated by the Jamaica Cooperative Credit Union League and JPS and Partners Credit Union. 1, roles and function of the supervisory committee, and 2, proceeds of crime. Special meeting event. The committee members participated in a number of special meetings during the period, including bid opening for external audit services and 5-year strategic business plan, the joint committee meeting, real loans for connected parties, and strategic planning retreat. In concluding, the measurements under the disaster risk management order regarding gathering limits and work from home mandates caused us to rethink our strategies for carrying out the duties of the committee. However, we were able to make the required adjustment and conducted the assigned tasks to enable us to make informed decisions and take necessary actions. Credit Union has remained compliant with policies and procedures as well as regulatory requirements governing its operations. In instances where shortcomings were identified, the relevant remedial recommendations were made. The committee continues to review and monitor the status of their implementation. The supervisory committee endeavors to remain vigilant and to pay keen attention to the entire operations in the best interests of members, as well as the maintenance of the viability of the credit union. We are satisfied with the operation of the credit union and is of the view that the cooperative continues to be a strong and sound financial partner for its members. The supervisory committee takes this opportunity to extend a special thank you to Smith & Associates, our internal auditors, for the audit done over the period. We also express our appreciation to the management and staff of the JPS and Partners Credit Union for their assistance and guidance, especially since the committee was comprised mostly of members who had never served in that capacity before, but were willing to offer their service. Last and by no means least, we say thanks to the members of the credit union for giving us the opportunity to serve. Signed by Janet Plummer, Chair, Supervisory Committee. At this time, I'm going to be asking for a motion to accept the Supervisory Committee report for the adoption of the committee report. Mr. Siebert Mitchell moved, seconded by Ingrid Grant. Any abstention? All in favor? Okay. All right, at this time, I invite Mr. Mitchell to come.
Good afternoon, fellow cooperators. The credit committee report is to be found on pages 152 to 153. Now, before I take you through the report, I'd just like to propose an amendment. Under loan disbursement, I want to propose a correction to the figure which is stated there as 1.53 billion. It ought to be 1.583 billion. No. So in the table you have 1.583 billion, Derek. But in the wording under loan disbursement, yes, good. Thanks for your indulgence. So COVID-19 will be beaten to death based on its intervention and the influence it had on our operations. Nonetheless, in 2021, during those challenging times, we utilized innovation to stay afloat. And let me just say that COVID-19 brought out resilience in the credit union. As mentioned before, a number of persons lost their jobs, so we had to make do, or what they've said, we had to turn our hand and make fashion. We had to ensure we were able to get more for the organization and for the members out of less resources that was made available to us based on our membership. Now, during that year, we had 5 persons who were nominated to serve. They were namely yours truly, Siebert Mitchell, Miss Nicole Gooding, Mrs. Charlene Truno Brown, I think I see her here, yes. Miss Nastasia Dixon and Miss Tricia here. So you would recognize that once again, I was the thorn between the roses. During our, what I call our inception meeting, yours truly, Siebert Mitchell, was once again named chairman, and Ms. Trisha here, secretary. And you would see in your booklet the profile of meetings held and attendance by members. So in looking at our loan portfolio, bearing in mind that the credit committee does not interact with all loans disbursed by the credit union. So I'll take it in separate categories. So total loans disbursed, as indicated earlier, was $1.583 billion. And I'd just like to highlight the major areas. Motor vehicle loans accounted for 276 million approximately, or 17.43%. Our salary and answer accounted for 530 million, or about 33.5%. Loans within shares, or what you call within savings, accounted for 260 million, or 16.41%. And other accounted for 293 million, or 18.49%. Now that is total loans handled by the credit union. Now, of that total, the credit committee had to intervene as it relates to 137.92 million. And let me remind you that that would be because we only interact with loans above 4 million. Okay? So this 137.92 million would represent those loans. And as it relates to that 137.92 million, the majority, 94%, are related to motor vehicle expenses, whilst only 6% was mortgage related. On page 153, you have a pictorial of the entire loan portfolio for your perusal. You would see your salary and answer, 23%, your motor vehicle loan, 38% of your portfolio, your home equity, 18%. In closing, I'd like to say that the credit committee expresses gratitude or appreciation to our valued members, and that is you, who have entrusted us with the responsibility of providing oversight on loans. The committee ensured that the loans disbursed were of the highest quality because we needed to protect your interest in the approval process. Special thanks goes out additionally to the board of directors, the management and staff, Joydeen and your team. We can't overexpress our thanks to you and your team for the support over the period. And I would personally want to express my appreciation for the members who have served with me over the past few years, especially 3 members who have now become like family, who will be leaving us this year. And I want to make special reference to them. They are Charlene Chuno Brown. Could you please stand, Charlene? She's what I call the wasp in the team. Yes, she's a wassy individual. Miss Nastasia Dixon, and also Miss Nicole Gooding, who during the birth of her last child, during very serious injury, and also during severe injury to that last child, was with us all the way. You know, we have been like family. I appreciate your dedication. This credit union owes an undying debt of gratitude to you. With that said, I now move a motion for the adoption of the credit committee report. Mr. Earl Monroe moves. Second by Miss Margaret Morris. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. Are there any questions or concerns for us to treat with on the credit committee report? There be none. I thank you again.
Thank you, Mr. Mitchell. I know members who are online might be having questions, so I'm going to be inviting you to put them in the chat so that we can see them and we can also action them and respond to them appropriately for you, right? So members online, we are not missing you out, or we're not overseeing you. We're just asking that you type your questions for us to look at it and we'll respond appropriately, all right? At this time, I'm going to be inviting our Vice President, Mr. David Fleming, to come and to table the league report.
Good afternoon, all. The league delegates report can be found on page 154 and 155 of the annual report. May I have a motion be moved that it be taken as read? By? Seconded by Debbie. Oh, sorry, Debbie Campbell. Deborah Campbell. My apologies. All right. The league delegates and the alternate delegates are members of the board of directors who represent the credit union as ambassadors at 2 forums and conferences held by the credit union movement. The delegates attended the 80th annual general meeting of the Jamaica Cooperative Credit Union, and as well as the annual credit union consultation. As the report was tabled as being read, can I have a motion be moved that the report as presented in the annual return be taken as read and adopted? Sonia Smith, seconded by Vaughn McDonald. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. At this time, we are moving swiftly in the interest of time to our nominating committee report. Invite Director Kim Robinson to come.
Afternoon again, everyone. The report that is before the membership for adoption and nomination appears at pages 156 to 160 of the annual report, as amended as follows. The JPS and Partners Nominating Committee was appointed by the Board of Directors in accordance with Rule 65(1) and comprised of the following persons. Thank you. Kim Robinson, Chairperson, Carl Grant, Member, and David Fleming, Member. The member nominated to fill the vacancy left by the departure of Director Fleming is Mr. Paul Stan Francis. Mr. Francis holds a master's degree in Human Resource Development from the University of the West Indies and a bachelor's degree in Human Resource Management from the University of the Commonwealth Caribbean, UCC. He has over 30 years of working experience in the utility industry, where he has gained tremendous expertise in customer and field services operations. He is the field services manager at the Jamaica Public Service Company Limited, St. Catherine, where he manages the commercial field activities such as meter investigations, service installations, and non-technical losses. He's a strong believer in volunteerism, hence he serves as a Justice of the Peace in the parish of St. Catherine. He is a member of the Optimist Club of New Harbor Village and served as president from 2019 to 2021. Mr. Francis has given over 20 years of voluntary service to the educational sector in various capacities, such as board chairman, motivational speaker, and facilitator. He is a lover of nature and enjoys long drives to the countryside. He's a firm believer in the Christian faith, hence his motto, wait on the Lord and be of good faith, and he shall supply your need. Might I have someone move a motion that the report as amended be taken as read? Thank you, Director Derek Tolo. Seconded by Deborah Campbell. All in favor? That being said, just to highlight that the members that are up for nomination to the board for a period of 2 years are Mr. Paulston Francis, Mr. Devon Wright, Ms. Tricia Robinson, Mr. Clive Sigree, and Ms. Timaine Campbell. They are being proposed to serve along with the remaining directors, Natalie Sparks, Patrick Davidson, Kim Robinson, and Donovan Cunningham. In respect of the supervisory committee, the persons being nominated are Cheryl Brown, Vashon Burnett, Yannick Johnson, Trisha Dorman, and Courtney Harrison to serve for a period of 1 year. With respect to the credit committee, there are 3 vacancies to be filled. We, however, identified 4 suitable candidates, which we are putting before the floor to vote. And at this time, I'm going to hand over to the representatives of the Department of Cooperatives and Friendly Societies to take us through the election process. Thank you.
Good afternoon, JPS and partners. Good afternoon, everyone. All right, so we'll be going through the election of officers. As it stands right now, the nominating committee has recommended 5 persons to fill 5 vacancies that will arise at the end of this AGM. Can a motion be made that these recommendations be accepted as duly elected by the members of JPS and Partners Credit Union for Board of Directors? Seconded by? Are there any objections to the nominations? Are all in favor to the nominations for persons for the Board of Directors as given by the nominating committee? Okay, it is carried. All right, let us move to the Supervisory Committee. For the Supervisory Committee, give me a second. 1 second. For the supervisory committee, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people retiring, and there are 5 recommendations to serve as a supervisory committee member. Can I have a motion to accept these nominations to the supervisory committee as duly nominated? Could I have your name, please?
Siebert Mitchell and Charlene Brown. I don't have 2 names.
Duly noted. Are there any objections to the nomination for supervisory committee? Are all in favor for the nominations to be accepted as duly elected to the supervisory committee?
Aye.
Moving on to the credit committee, we have 4 nominations and 3 vacancies. So we will, oh my. So we will have to have a vote to select from the 4 people, 3 people to serve on the credit committee. What will happen is online, a poll will be launched, and you will be required to select the 3 persons who you want for your vote to the credit committee. Persons in the room, a ballot will be issued, and then at the end of the voting time, the numbers will be tallied and the results will be shared. I'll ask Ms. Byfield to help me to issue the ballot.
But online, what's going to happen? To call the name and they select yes or no. So we can vote one by one online. You follow me? So online, you don't have a block of 4 names. You have to go one by one. So we can call this name first. No, it comes up on the screen. No, but that's what is happening over here. No, that's what the poll. That's what the poll does. They do by one name. Couldn't you set up one? Can you set up everything in block? We can do all 4. Okay, good. We'll do all 4. All right. It's okay. We can do all 4. Yeah, man. Only maybe. We're online.
Yeah. All right. No money. It will be online. They'll see them online. Yeah. All right. So the persons, the candidates for credit committee are Nerine Booth Henry, members, remember you need a quorum.
Which person have online?
Can you pronounce these names? Can you just read those names, sir?
All right, the names of the candidates for volunteers are Nerine Booth Henry, Deidre Codner Campbell, Simbaras Simba and Courtney White.
It's Nerine Booth Brown.
Oh, it's not Henry. Henry on this paper, it's Brown. Okay. Yes. No, Simbaras.
Courtney White. Courtney White.
Simbaras Nkuma and Courtney White. So we not supposed to vote.
Everyone has a ballot now?
Yes, yes, Director Campbell. You are to select your preference for the persons named here to serve on the credit committee.
Three of the four
Three of the
persons.
4 persons.
And please,
Yes, no, it's
place
all
and,
right.
no, you don't hear me.
Here, it's in my one. I should probably take another one because I started ticking, not realizing that you want an X, but I put the X. Okay, all right.
All right, so the poll is going to run for the next 3 minutes. Is the online team, is the poll launched online? Members, remember it's an X, not a tick. An X, not a tick.
No man, it's all right. No man. But that's right.
Can I get another ballot, please, foils?
Miss Byfield will be collecting. Mr. President, you can continue until we are.
Okay.
No, after the 3 minutes, you can continue until we.
All right, no problem.
What, give us
Yeah, man, give
2
me
more
enough time.
minutes.
All right.
Remember, the people online, please make your voices be heard. Please to vote.
Almost done. All right, while the votes are being collected, in the interest of time, we are going to be moving on. It's customary that league delegates are selected to represent the credit union at league matters. And I'm going to be asking for a motion to allow the board to select league delegates. Can I have a motion? Move. All right, motion by Vaughn McDonald, seconded by Deborah Campbell. Any abstention? All in favor? All right, so we're winding down, members. No, the registrar have to do that. It's not me. Okay, well, the registrar need to advise us. Mr. Brown, what time you closing the online?
You can close now.
Can close now?
Yeah.
All right, the registrar has advised that the online poll can now be closed. All right, cooperators, it's now your turn. We are at any other business before we move into the drawing of the spot prizes. Yes, Mr. Tolo?
Two quick ones.
Yes.
The quick one that I want to make costs no money, but it impacts lives. What's been happening is that
It's working.
yes, and no.
No, sir.
The two things about our members, they're aging.
Yes.
And two things there is one last year. Power of attorney. How can we educate people to prepare? We have been having a number of people dying. The next thing is trust and will.
Wills, yes.
I'm begging and beseeching, I will donate some of my money if it needs be to buy some will funds.
No, you don't have to.
I'm serious. I'm begging, because every time I go and see our members dying,
Yes.
no will is in place, and we need to do some Zoom conference and things on this. I'm begging, and the last thing I'm putting to this meeting is that there's a product that is sold by JCIA, a group life insurance. I'm not on any boards, I'm not marketing, I don't get no money. But what I find is that it offers 1 million in terms of coverage, and you pay 6,500 for the entire year, and it covers you. In the case of major illness, you get 500,000 to help you with doctor fees. So I'm begging the credit union to push it and to ensure we protect our members, because they're aging and they have challenges, and I see some areas where I have to deal with them and having to help families left don't know where them have investment and helping them all over the place. I'm begging the credit union to move in those two areas.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tolo. Well received, and it's something that the board will action. I will just say to you, though, that I'm begging you not to go and to purchase will forms. You are also a senior justice of the peace. Just had a recent training with the Minister of Justice, and he pointed out that the Attorney General was now rejecting the forms that persons purchase within the stores because there is a defect on the form, right? I can make available to you as a justice of the peace and to other colleagues that I have here as justices, the correct form, because I do have it in soft copy. So I will make it available so that it can be replicated, because I got that straight from the Ministry of Justice. Yes, I will email it. I'll email it out so that it can be replicated. I agree with you, Mr. Tolo. A will is something that is very important, right? Very, very, very important. I recognize Mr. Mitchell.
Yes, sir. I'm not challenging with my point.
Hearing you.
I'm sure you're not having a challenge with my point.
No.
Just on the point raised by yourself and Mr. Tolo, I can also advise that the Administrator General's Department as forms that are readily available.
Okay,
All right?
great, great. Mhm. Any other concern, any other business that we want to take at this time? We're moving to the sports prizes, but before we do, I'm going to be inviting Madam GM to come and to make a presentation on behalf of the credit union.
Fellow corporators, good afternoon again. You would have realized from the nominating committee's report that we will be saying goodbye for the time being to one of our directors, and that's Mr. David Flemings. Mr. Flemings served in the capacity as Vice President and also Chair of the Human Resources Committee, where he did human services. And so we want to just say thank you to Mr. David Flemings. Mr. Flemings, could you join me at the microphone, please?
See you. COVID done.
Thank you so much for the service that you have done to the credit union. Really, really appreciated it. I know a lot of the sentiments were expressed last night at our board of directors meeting, but these persons were not in the room. So again, I'm saying thank you for your human services to the JPS and Partners Credit Union. And we do look forward to having you on other committees in the future. Thank you again.
Thank you, Ms. Jarrett.
Thank you, GM. Mr. Fleming is only leaving the board because of term limits. It's not that he's unavailable to serve as volunteer in other areas, all right? So we will utilize his skills and, all right? So members, let me use this opportunity to thank you all for availing yourselves this afternoon, for spending some time with us to hear how your credit union has performed. We want to thank you for entrusting us with your financial decisions. We do not take it lightly that you have singled us out, because you do have choices, but you have continued to stay with JPS and Partners. We have had to discharge our fiduciary responsibility in protecting your investment for not only us, but our generation to come. I want to thank you very much. Thank to all the volunteers and all the stakeholders, and thanks to the management for keeping JPS and Partners as the #1 credit union. Thank you all. Have a good rest of the afternoon. For those who are traveling back, we wish you Godspeed. Have a safe rest of. Oh, I know move the. But oh, the vote. Okay, I'm sorry. I was moving to close without getting the.
Do your spot prize in the meantime.
Yeah, no, he's here. Mr. Brown, you ready for us? All right, well, we can move to the sports prizes in the meantime. Jim? Okay.
And then this one. I just got this one.
Yeah. What? Q-Max.
Okay.
Okay. Yes. Okay. All right. There are 4 spot prizes here. One is a 5,000 account voucher courtesy of Jamaica Co-op Credit Union League, and finger food for 5 persons courtesy of Chung's Catering Services Limited will be awarded to the member who has been online the longest.
Persons will be advised accordingly.
Okay, I'm just advised that a winner will be advised accordingly because our IT technicians will submit that data to the office and we'll advise the person, all right? We also have a gift basket courtesy of Gorgeous Flowers Company Limited, and it will be awarded to the first member who attend the meeting. And I think the member here is Miss Juliet Reeves. Although that's not accurate because I was here before. I'm also inviting members to look under your seat for a winning card. Driving and look under your seat. Nobody find anything? Okay. You can come forward and receive your prize. Name? Miss Jared? Krishana Palmer. And our final spot prize this afternoon will be courtesy of QMax Wealth Management. And the winner is Mr. Ratcliffe Brown. He was the second member to be present at the meeting. All right, I'll invite again Mr. Brown to come.
Yes, so I'm back with the results of the credit committee election. Ms. Henry got 62 votes. Ms. Campbell, Mrs. Campbell.
It's really Brown. It's Neri Booth Brown.
Booth Brown got 62 votes. Mrs. Cardinal Campbell got 57 votes. Miss Nkuma got Mr. Nkuma got 49 and Mr. White got 56. So those that will serve are Miss Brown,
yes,
Mrs. Campbell Cardinal, and Mr. White.
All right.
Can you go again? Booth Brown got 62, Cardinal Campbell got 57, and Kuma got 49, and Courtney White 56. Mr. President.
All right, thank you again, Mr. Brown. All right, so as members are leaving, as I said, thank you very much for spending some time with us this afternoon. We value your time here. And as you go, we wish you Godspeed. We continue to discharge our duties in a fiduciary way as we protect your investment going forward. Thank you all. God bless. I now move a motion for the adjournment of this meeting. Thank you, members, cooperators. Have a good rest of the afternoon. Yes. Cooperators, just to remind you that there is refreshment on your way out, so please feel free to help yourself.
Thank you, sir. Paul San.
All right.